The town decided she was guilty before she ever spoke a word. The rancher stayed silent until that silence took everything from him. Redstone Hollow, autumn 1891. The wind carried the sharp warning of winter, but the dust in the town square hung heavy, unmoving, as if the air itself was holding its breath. What should have been the busiest market day of the week had turned into something darker. Stalls stood abandoned. Horses shifted uneasily. Voices gathered, but not in trade. They gathered to judge. At the center of the square stood Clara May Whitlock. Her wrists were tied behind her back. Iron cuffs locked around her ankles. Her dark hair was tangled, streaked with dust. Her once clean dress was faded, torn, stained by weeks of travel. Around her neck hung a crude wooden sign. It read, "Liar, fraud, child stealer." The crowd closed in. Some pointed, some sneered. Others folded their arms, convinced they already knew the truth. A woman in a worn bonnet spat near Clara's feet. "You stole a newborn from her own blood," she snarled. "What kind of creature does that?" The murmurs grew louder. Weeks earlier, the Grayson family had vanished without warning. No goodbye, no explanation. Then, a newborn baby was found in a lonely riverside cabin, and Clara was there, holding her, feeding her, protecting her. At first, some called it kindness. Then the questions came. Clara said the Graysons trusted her. She spoke of a letter, a written promise, temporary guardianship, but no one had seen it. And in Redstone Hollow, land was power, blood was truth, and silence was guilt. Clara did not beg, she did not scream, she did not plead her innocence. She simply stood there, calm, still, silent, and that silence condemned her. "Innocent people fight," someone whispered. "Innocent women cry," another said. At the edge of the crowd stood Ethan Cole, 34 years old, hardened by years on Iron Creek Ranch. Mud still clung to his boots from the morning's work. His hands stayed buried in his coat pockets. He said nothing. Ethan was the only man there who knew Clara was telling the truth. 6 weeks earlier, the storm had been merciless. Rain hammered Ethan's cabin roof. Thunder rolled across the hills. Then came the knock. When Ethan opened the door, Clara stood there, soaked, shaking, desperate. In her arms, a newborn child. "They told me to trust you," she whispered. Her hands trembled as she passed him a folded, rain-stained letter. "They said you'd understand." Ethan dried the paper carefully by the fire. The ink had blurred, but the signature was clear. Margaret Grayson. The letter told everything. The land fraud, the fear of arrest, the desperate flight. And then, a final line that stole Ethan's breath. "Ethan Cole can be trusted. He has more right to the Grayson name than most who carry it openly." The truth hit like a blow. Ethan was the illegitimate son of Thomas Grayson, a secret buried his entire life. Clara watched him quietly, trusting him completely. Ethan asked her to wait outside. Inside, he stared at the letter, then at a second copy Clara had brought for safety. He struck a match and burned it, not to protect her, to protect himself. Back in the square. Now Clara stood accused, and Ethan stood silent. The original letter lay hidden in a locked chest at Iron Creek Ranch. One word from him could free her. One truth could destroy him. So he stayed quiet, and Clara paid the price. The jail. That night, Ethan tried to fix his mistake. He tried to break her free. He failed. Beaten, bloodied, chained beside her in the darkest cell. "I was afraid," he whispered, "not of losing land, but of being seen." Clara met his eyes. "I forgive the man who came," she said softly, "but not the one who stayed silent." She tied a faded ribbon around his wound. "I won't leave you again," Ethan said. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. 2 days. That was all they had. The judge was coming. The orphanage wagon was scheduled. The baby would be taken. Ethan wrote a confession. Every truth, every failure. He sealed it with his family brand. "I'll lose everything," he told Clara. "I don't care." For the first time, Clara cried, not for herself, for the child who had no voice. Dawn. A carriage rolled into town. The Graysons returned, gaunt, broken, ashamed. They confessed everything. They begged forgiveness. Silence fell over Redstone Hollow. There was nothing left to deny. The charges collapsed. Clara was freed. Truth finally spoken aloud. 1 year later, Iron Creek Ranch was no longer grand, but it was alive. Children's laughter filled the fields. A small clinic stood where stables once were. The baby, now walking, called Clara Ma. She called Ethan Pa. They never married. They never needed to. Final words. Ethan planted a white elm tree in the center of town, where Clara once stood condemned. A wooden plaque read, "Truth stood here once. We nearly let it die." If this story moved you, like this video, share it with someone who believes in quiet courage, and subscribe to US Wild West Love Stories. Here, we tell stories where truth is costly, love is quiet, and courage arrives late but still arrives. Until next time, ride steady and love braver.